Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good. We understand that shopping is a necessity, but with a slight adjustment, you can make a big difference. Here's how it works. Visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any partner that resonates with you. Click a picture of your receipt or invoice. Pick the mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send the receipt to us. Then, all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchase, knowing you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing your story with those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone. When we all come together.
How's it going, everyone? I want to welcome everyone who's a first-time viewer. I know that we talked to a lot of you on Saturday at the Colorado Grit game, final game of the year, unfortunately, which just is a bummer to me because I'm a hockey fan and I hate hearing final game of the year for anything, and especially when it comes to hockey. So, but I enjoyed meeting everyone out there. It was a little cold in the shadows, but didn't matter. We had a lot of fun. Hey, we just showed a little spot there about Brain Injury Awareness Month. It's coming to an end. March is coming to an end. But we still have one more show to go. If you have suffered a brain injury and you have something that you would like to talk about, a success, a program, whatever it is, reach out to us. Use the little QR code up there in the corner. Reach out to us. Let's talk. Let's see if we can get you on and spread your message. Brain injuries are difficult. Let's make sure that people understand that it's not a death sentence. You can still live very productive lives. We had a wonderful show last week. There were a lot of people who were able to tell us about their journeys with brain injuries, and I think that we need to keep that going. Okay, so here's the deal. This is by far going to be the show that could potentially be a little dangerous, most dangerous, because we are going to be talking about something that people are very, very passionate about. The thing is, we are going to keep it respectful. We want to show that just because there is a huge divisiveness in a lot of organized religion right now, it can also be brought together as a community and really be used for a very, very good purpose. And the person who's helping me put this all together is my brother, Patrick. Patrick, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. Like, you know, it's this is one of those shows that I knew I wanted to do eventually. It's one of those shows that, you know, with the way that things are going, it's kind of like, do we do it? Do we do it? Yeah, we do it.
Yeah.
It needs to be talked about. It's something that's out there that people have a problem with. And just to let everyone know, if you're hearing something that you would like to come on and discuss, send me a private message, and I might send you the link. If you would like to get involved in this discussion, I can send you the link, and maybe you can come on and talk with us and be heard. Patrick, why don't you introduce yourself, and we'll get the show started with the two of your friends you brought along.
All right. So my name is Patrick Myers. I'm the founder of College Global, and um, we have many different things that we do. The main thing with College Global is to connect ministries and organizations together so we can support each other, um, whether it be funding, resources, innovations, personnel, ideas, anything like that. With a faith-based community where we can come together and learn how to work together, and so we don't have to be supported by you know, government grants, different things like that. We can be more independent in the things that we do because of how we help each other. The next thing is also the youth initiative is something that I've have founded here. Our first one is called the Roots um, program, and this is for teenagers 16 through 21, and what we do is provide them tools to be able to have impact in the community right now, the age that they are at right now. And so we one of some of the things we teach is like mind mapping, vision casting, um, asset-based community development, and these are all geared around for the youth to have an idea, and when they have that idea, how do we take that dream that you have and get the community behind you to be able to implement it in the real world and have an impact right now? Youth have amazing innovations and ideas, and they have a lot of solutions to the issues that we are dealing with because they're in the world right now, dealing with these things real time. So they would have a lot better answers than us that are like a lot older sometimes that are a little bit more far removed from the current issues. Um, Also, we have a men's podcast, several different podcasts that we do. We have a men's podcast. We're getting ready to launch another one called Voices in the Fire. Um, and what's the other one? Me and my fiance, we have one for couples called The Chronicles of Pat and Aya. What else? Um, Also, just do a lot of work with other organizations around the area where we're trying to connect and see how we can work together to impact the community right here in this area. So I think places like Freeburg, um, Gallatin Church, our church, um, Revolution, Divine Dogs, Hot Dog Cart. So we just do a whole lot of different things where we work together to serve the community. And that's a little bit
Yeah,
what I do.
yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, you know, and what do you do with your free time? So, you know, we got to talk to a lot of kids the other day, and again, it was something that was so mind blowing seeing these little kids that are there, and some of the stuff that they would say you give them a little packet filled with toys and color book that we create and stuff, and ask them what they can do to change someone's life, and they're amazing because they don't, like you said, they're not jaded like we are a lot of times.
Mm.
They still see things in very, very innocent eyes, and it's wonderful to see sometimes. Other times, of course, you kind of sit there and look at it and go, no, we can't bring Superman in to help him. Well, maybe we can. Who knows? There's probably Superman out there somewhere, but it's just, it's neat seeing the way that some of these kids are some of the ways that they think about things. And that doesn't, we need to make sure that we we encourage this and we bring this to light with these kids. We can't, we got to make sure that they understand that we're here to support them in their mission to help others. So, Patrick, we had one person drop off right now. He was driving, so it was a little bit difficult, but we're going to go on ahead and we're going to bring on another buddy of yours, Mr. Matthew. Matthew, how are you doing?
How's it going, Zach? Appreciate the.
Yeah.
Like Patrick, I work with Patrick all the time, but can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit there, but I think we're going to be fine. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Matt?
Okay. I mean, like a lot of people, I grew up in the church and, had very religious parents, but through the years just had to kind of work with what is my belief, where is my salvation, what is mine versus what is kind of passed down to us. So now I lead the men's group, just about a small group. We do weekly studies and then just lift each other up. So there's a lot of confession, but there's a lot of just trying to carry each other's burdens. I mean, life is hard sometimes. So it's kind of my main initiative, and then work with Patrick for any other discipleship ministries.
What are some of the things that you notice that men are dealing with the most in these sessions?
So most of the men in my group are married, and I think just working through life and figuring out how to be a man, how to be a leader, when they feel emasculated, when they feel like they're struggling with either finance or who they are. How do these questions come up? How do they, in the spiritual realm, how do they work with their partner to show them truth, but also to lead? I mean, submission is a hard thing. We say submission, and here in this country, it's kind of a backwards idea. And I worked with my wife for years. I mean, we struggled through everything, and so a lot of what I've gone through has been what I've been able to use as my witness, but also to kind of work with them to lead them through those ideas. A lot of them are jobs, marriage struggles. That's kind of usually the same kind of pattern that a lot of people follow.
No. Welcome back, E. We know that you're driving, so you may be in and out a little bit, but hopefully we'll get you in more than you're out. All right, guys, we're going to get this started. Once again, this is talking about how we can how religion can bring you together. Okay, look, we all know that right now there's a sect that wants to rip people apart, and we need to remember that we're all human. And guys, my biggest question to all of you, and when I went to church, okay, and we are talking a long time ago that I went to church, there was talk of acceptance to other people. Yet today we see a lot of not accepting other people and putting down somebody because of what they do or who they are. What is there something different? Why is it different now? What am I missing?
So this is one thing that I've learned over time. A lot of people, when they say acceptance, right? It's like I might not agree. Lord, give me wisdom in how to speak truth. Okay. So a lot of times acceptance is like I'm supposed to accept everything that you tell me that I'm supposed to accept about you. And that's not the truth and reality of how life works. We are differences and we have differences for a reason. So if I believe something that and and it doesn't agree with the values that I have, that doesn't mean that if I say, hey, I don't agree with this, that doesn't mean a rejection of a person, right? But that's what we take it as. We say, oh, well, you don't accept me because you don't agree with what I'd say that you should agree with. So if I say that, I, I'm just gonna just be real with it. If I say, well, all white people, right? All white people are the cause of every single black person's problems, right? That doesn't mean you have to if you don't agree with that, you don't have to accept that of what it is that I'm saying about that. You don't need to accept that. That's just my belief. That's my preference. That's whatever. If I say that black people are the ultimate race in the world, right? That doesn't mean you have to accept that. And so we get a lot of times we get acceptance and agreement and all these kind of things. We get those kind of terms mixed up. And it's like, in order for me to be in relationship with you as a human being, I have to accept everything that you say to me. That shouldn't be so. That shouldn't be so whatsoever. Because there are some things, brother, that with these brothers, even right here, we might be on the same page, but there's things that we disagree about. That doesn't make him less my friend. That doesn't make him less anything to me. We just don't agree. And we've lost the art of being able to say, hey, I don't believe in this right here, but we can still be friends and come together on these specific issues. But this is what it is. Acceptance. There's certain things in the things that we believe, or I believe. I'm not going to speak for them. I'm going to speak for myself. That I believe as a follower of Christ and as a follower of God, right? Not of Christianity, of a follower of Christ, of God and His Word, right? And what He says. That will not allow me to tolerate or accept certain things that are against Him, which is what it's about. It's against Him, not against me. It's against Him, His laws, His truth, His word. And so that means that even for myself, I can't even accept Him, or that makes me an enemy of Him. There's a lot of things that when it comes to the things that I believe, that literally are slapping me in the face, because I have to either be in disagreement with God or come into agreement with Him. And and if I'm going to put my faith in a God that I believe that is holy, and my path and the morality that is judged, and my salvation comes from Him, right? Well, then how can I be in disobedience to the things that He's saying and then still say I follow you? So that means even for myself, right? There's a lot of things that He doesn't agree with for me or accept as His truth for me, that I have to actually become into obedience of. And so a lot of times when people be like, when we talk about that term specifically, what it does is says, if I believe this and you don't agree with me, right? Then then um there can be no relationship. But if that's the way that God works, wouldn't none of us have any ability to be able to come to Him, right? There would be no ability of that. There would be no ability to have friendship, because there's with your wife, there are certain things that for you might have been married for however long, but you do not agree about. There's things with your son that you don't agree about. There's things with every single human being that in reality, because we're different people, we might not necessarily agree or accept. That should be okay. That should be okay. And so, like, just to start off, just want to be very, very clear on like acceptance. Just because I don't accept something that you do or you believe or you say is what's good for you, that doesn't make me an enemy of you. That just means we don't agree and I don't accept it. It's just that
Yeah.
simple.
Well, first off, since my wife's not here, yeah, there's things that we don't agree on. But if she was standing here, by God, I'd agree
Definitely
with
agree. I
everything.
know.
Yeah, I'd agree with everything she said. So, Matthew, let me ask you this though: isn't it true that God forgives everyone? So we should be more acceptant of what they do.
You're going to throw that one at me first?
Somebody's got to get it.
It's a good one though. It's a good one.
Well, I want to answer Patrick's question first.
Going ahead.
So I'll go to that. But I'm going to start by saying I think we've lost the art of debate, and we live in a multimedia world where cancel culture has become the ultimate idea of you disagree with me, you're out.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of podcasts like this. I watch a lot of biblical podcasts. I watch a lot of guys that do street preaching. And those guys encounter a lot of hate just by what they're trying to do is spread love. I'm just here to tell you about the God that I believe in. All right. And, I equated it at men's group with, Patrick and E, that if I see somebody on the side of the road in chains, as just a human with morals, my job is to stop and try to help. If you don't want my help, there's only so much I can do if you're fighting against that. But if my job is to tell you that there is a dividing line, that yes, God forgives all sin of everyone, but that dividing line is He doesn't just leave you where you're at. He doesn't just let you live in that and say, okay, you're okay. Keep on doing what you're doing. Our classic example is the woman caught in adultery, where Jesus says, he who's without sin casts the first stone. But then he looks at the woman, he says, I don't judge you either. Go and sin no more. We have a big propensity to try to write somebody's story. Here's what your ending is. Here's what your worth is. Here's who you are. And if that's done in the church, that is completely wrong. And that needs to be put down. But inside the church, we can see God wrote my story and he knows my ending. And he didn't leave me where I was at in that chapter. And he's walking me through other difficult chapters, but he knows my ending. And so we should never try to tell somebody, here's who you are and here's what you are. And that's just your life story. But we should show them the good news of what the final chapter looks like if Christ is in it. So I think ultimately, Zach, unfortunately, people don't want to hear where they're wrong. They just want you to accept, kind of like Patrick said, right? Just love me how I am. Well, if it's bad for you, I don't let my kids do the stuff they want to do. I don't just give them the right to put a fork in the socket. There's going to be consequences. So I redirect them, and sometimes with a yell, sometimes with a loud voice, sometimes with the consequence of a spanking, whatever that is, based upon the situation. And FYI, I haven't spanked my girls in probably 5 years. They're really good. But, we work through those. But at the same time, I don't let them just do the things that are going to lead them off a cliff. But the world wants you to just leave them alone. And I don't think that's love for me to see somebody in distress, and just let them go. So to answer your question, does God forgive everyone? Yes. But his forgiveness comes with his words of what he revealed. And we have differences on that. And yeah, even in the church, we've got to figure out how to debate each other and say, you know what? That doesn't dictate our salvation. We can agree to disagree, and I can love you. And it doesn't divide us. We have differences. I had differences last Thursday on what I was teaching on, but that's okay. You don't have to see my point of view. You don't have to believe what I believe. So, but I do desire that you know Christ and whatever he says. If he's the ultimate moral authority that I go by, then I'm going to put him as the ultimate moral authority and say, don't follow me, follow him. But I can help lead you to him because I'm still on the journey myself.
I want to speak on
E, would you
forgiveness.
like to?
Can I speak on the
Let me
forgiveness real
find
quick?
it. Yeah.
Um, See, the thing is about forgiveness too. A lot of times we say, "Well, God forgives everybody." It doesn't mean that He accepts the things that we do. The point of asking for forgiveness is because He doesn't accept the things that we do that are wrong. Like, God is not a God of just all-inclusive acceptance. He has things where He goes, "This is what I say is right and wrong. This is what you have to obey and follow." And the thing is, we don't necessarily want to do that. It's just like children with their parents. Our parents go, okay, if you as a dad, all right, we're gonna just say, we're just gonna take ourselves for instance. We tell our kids, you know what? Do not, do not, um, don't go into the cookie jar after 10 p.m. Right? Do not do this, right? Because we know that it's gonna make them sick. Whatever. We know what the consequences and the reality of what's gonna happen with them at night. All right. They don't necessarily know that, but they do it anyway. They do it anyway. And you tell them over and over again, hey, don't do this, don't do this. And then finally there has to come a point where you go, hey, there's going to be a consequence and a punishment for what it is that you're doing. It should actually be the first or second time, but sometimes as parents we have this long patience, right? When the kid goes, you know what, I'm sorry for what I've done. And the thing as a parent, you forgive that child for the fact that he did what he did. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to accept the behavior of what it is that he did. And that's what it is that we want. That's where we go wrong with what God's forgiveness is. And then what we want to have as forgiveness for ourselves. We go, I want God to forgive me, plus accept the wrong things that I'm doing against him, because he's an all-loving God, right? So he should just accept me exactly what I'm doing against everything he's doing. The thing is, it doesn't change his love for you. It doesn't change anything about that. It's just that he doesn't accept the stuff that he says that he has already told you. This is not what is good for you that I've told you, and I've asked you several times. I've put in my word my laws and my truth, and you keep disobeying them. You don't want to obey those things. And then so then we go, well, I'm angry with God because he doesn't accept me just the way that I am. But that's not what we, in just general life, we're not even talking about God. In general life, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way on a personal basis. But we expect the God of the universe that has given us breath to actually do that, because why? He wouldn't be a just God. He wouldn't be a holy God. He wouldn't be a God worth worshiping if he did accept those things. The thing is, the forgiveness is always there. The forgiveness there if you repent and turn away from the things that he said, okay, don't do these things. But a lot of times we don't want to hear that truth and obey that truth. And that's where we get so angry, and we want to put God in this area where he's our enemy, when in reality we are the ones that are his enemies, because we are the ones going against him. His creation is going against him and his laws. And then we say, no, you're the one that's wrong. You need to just forgive me and accept all of my sins and everything I'm doing, and bring me into your space. That's what it just in a logic based, how is that even okay? How arrogant is that of us? And so that's where we kind of get the acceptance and forgiveness. We get that whole thing wrong. We get forgiveness completely off track. So um,
So
that's
Zach,
just it for me.
Zach, we're coming from a place of belief already. So
Yeah.
when you hear our side, it's not like we're trying to say, oh, Christians are okay. We're coming from a place of you know I mean, I will work with somebody from the ground up if they struggle with, is God real? Is morality real? Um, is consequence real? But, so when you hear our discussion points, I don't want you to think that we're coming across as, well, they should just accept this from where we're at. Because I want to work with everyone where they're at, because that's what Christ did. So if you have any questions for us that could, that would help, that drive us, kind of like you asked me that very difficult question, that would drive us towards, well, people don't understand why you care, then please, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, like I said, there is nothing, and I am one that I am multi um interested. I'm interested in a little bit of all religions, all of the religions, and there's a tie-in to a lot of them. Coming to find out that that there's been floods since the first organized religion. That there was one man and his family that survived a flood way before the story of Moses came along. These are the kind of things that I love putting all this stuff together, and not putting it together, but seeing the one thing about religion that really captures my interest is having gentlemen like you guys, who you guys are put together. You guys know each other, you love each other, and you're able to sit here and talk about it. And this is the one thing that you guys have in common, without a doubt. You have your faith in common. And so that's what we're trying to really get to here, is we're trying to let people know that, what, just because some people are, in which Patrick and I talked about this last week, there are a lot of people out there trying to, and this is probably not the best word to use right now during, talking religion, but there's a lot of people out there trying to bastardize religion and Christianity, especially, to twist it to their view. And it's turning a lot of people away. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's one reason why younger generations are leaving, distancing themselves from the church, because they're hearing from the adults, you can't do this. This isn't, and look, we were all young. Anytime that you said we can't do something, what did we do? And we did it twice just to make sure that we could do it the first time. And that's kind of the way I see that as a problem. And that's why I wanted to give you guys a real chance to allow people to see what kind of kinship you have, what kind of relationship you guys have, so people can see that it's not all judgment and vitriol towards people who make mistakes, which I don't like the word mistake, but I'm a poor choice guy. You make poor choices and you learn from them. But that right there is one of the reasons why I am asking this question, because I don't believe a lot in mistakes. I do believe that we all make poor choices and we learn from them. And that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that, everybody understands that we can be forgiven. So, because, there's certain poor choices that if you do, it's hard for anybody to forgive you, but everybody learns.
So what are those
You
poor
don't learn
choices?
from a win, you will learn from a loss.
Yeah. What are those poor choices? Like what's an example of it?
In my mind,
Yes,
my mind is you harm a child, and I'm sorry, that's a hard thing to
okay.
forgive.
So, I mean, there are things that the state has allowed, or the country, or not just this country,
Mm-hmm.
many countries have allowed. But then as we've kind of moved along, they've been like, yeah, that was kind of wrong. It was harmful to other people. And, and kind of what, you know, Ian, Patrick, and I have discussed is there's a reason that kind of laws kind of progress, unfortunately, but It's because we believe in absolute morality. We believe that there is an absolute morality, that it's not just what you choose, that just because the state allows something today, would you say that slavery is wrong? Absolutely. Well, the state allowed it. Did that mean it was moral? No, not antebellum slavery. So these mistakes are what we call sins that, that we would quantify as biblical truths, that the morality has always been there, that it's not just made up by us, that we don't get to just pick and choose the days that we think that's okay or that's not. And unfortunately, like you're saying, Zach, sometimes that is offensive. It's offensive to tell somebody, hey, this is going to lead to destruction. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people that partake in watching things they shouldn't. Our system has allowed it. Okay, but just because every girl's on OnlyFans or every guy thinks they can make money off watching it or doing it or being partakers of it, there's going to be a day where we realize that there's a moral collapse from certain things that have happened that we allow. And all we try to do in the church is to say, hey, here's probably a yield sign. Here's probably a caution light. Because there's already somebody that told us about absolute morality, and he lived and talked about and proved by his life and by those who witnessed him that, you know what, these things will lead to destruction. So that's kind of where we come from. It's not separate.
Yeah. And see, Patrick, something that you said earlier, about spanking your girls, there's a difference between spanking your girls and beating your girls. Okay. There's a huge difference there. And my thing is that I think that we as a society have learned a huge lesson from the timeout era, because there are a lot of kids that are walking around without any concept of, oh my God, there are things that you cannot do, and I'm not going to get stuck in a corner for 10 minutes and it's not going to all go away. So, and in which I never understood the timeout era. That's just me. I didn't. Okay. I'm a big old guy. I scared my kids just by looking at them. I don't know if that says how ugly I am or what, but I was able to scare my kids by just looking at them, my two sons, but I mean, yeah, I never once put my kids in timeout because I would have never saw any good out of that. So I don't want to leave you out of this. I know that you're driving, but you've heard a lot of this going on. So why don't you go ahead and pop on in and give me your opinion on what you've heard so far, brother. And welcome back to the show. You were on quite a few months ago, so.
Yes. Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me, Patrick. God forgives. Listening here, I agree with my brothers. God forgives, but He doesn't want you to stay there. I mean, that's like, for instance, a murderer, a person that likes murdering people. If he has an encounter with Christ in his life, like Paul did when he crucified and murdered Christians back in those days, and he had an encounter with Jesus forgave him. What's that to say? If Jesus forgives a murderer, did Paul stay a murderer after Jesus forgave him? No. He changed his ways, and that's the difference. And people in certain instances don't like to hear that, just like my brother said, we lost the art of debate. I can't tell you constructive criticism is going to hurt your feelings. Well, when I was growing up, if I didn't have constructive criticisms, I would be able to make the same mistakes that I made before. We have to learn from those things. And as in Christ, God doesn't leave you on the same path that you've been walking on, which is the walk of destruction in our lives. Because you know what? Yes, we're Christians. We have a belief system in Christ. That is our Lord and Savior that died and rose on the third day. But God doesn't leave us once we have accepted Him. He doesn't leave us there. We end up gradually changing and becoming somebody new in Christ as a creature that he says in his word. And people don't like to hear, hey, stop cheating on your wife, man. Because if you don't, there's a possibility that you're going to lose your whole family. Well, I don't want to hear you say that to me. Well, like my brother said, we all have moral codes. People want to think that God is not real. Well, then what makes it right? What tells you that a pedophile can molest a child, that's right? Everybody's going to tell you that's wrong. So obviously there's a moral code to that, right? So, it's how you say it and how you approach it. And with us, it's about love, man. Love your brother, love your sister. As God loved the people, love thy neighbor, as he says in his word. And that's where I come from. I've learned a lot. God has changed me from once being a gangbanger and living in the streets as a homeless man, to where I'm at now. And it still took 47 years for me to actually have an actual relationship with Christ in order for me to get it in my head and get it in my heart and get it in my soul. And now, instead of looking at, as most Christians, because we're not perfect people, none of us are.
No.
Find me one perfect person that's in this world, and if there is, don't meet them because you're gonna ruin it. Because they're perfect. The only perfect person that ran this world is Jesus, and there's documentation and scrolls that prove it. And over centuries and decades and years, Christianity as a faith has been attacked. Why? Why has it been attacked so greatly? Because the love of Jesus offends people, and how you approach people, it's all about love. But love and forgiveness are hand to hand, and we have to learn how to give that out, walk with the person. If the person denies it, then so be it. At least you have the opportunity. But that doesn't mean that you offend the person and speak down on the person like some Christian people do. And I've had that in my life as well. It turns people away. You said earlier, Zach, that you have a lot of young kids that turn away, but there's an actual percentage. There's more kids coming to Christ now than they ever have been in several years. But you don't hear about that because it's being suppressed. And we're starting to see a lot of young kids and youth doing things that I've never seen in my entire life. And which is a token of what God is doing, the love of Christ that's moving in this nation, even with everything that's going on right now. We as brothers in Christ, we just want to share love, share the truth, and and sometimes the truth for people that are I don't live I'm not perfect. I don't live right. There's certain truths that I have to accept. Then my brothers come to me and talk to me about, hey, if you're doing this, you should be doing that. I accepted the constructive criticism and I pray about it and I say, okay, I got to do better. But not having people and being secluded in their own world, becoming their own gods. There's a creator. There's a painting in 1812 that's been painted by some painter. It didn't create itself. The same thing as this earth. It didn't create itself. There's a creator to everything. And, it's sad to say that, like my brother said, we cannot debate in love with people that don't really want to hear it, and that's where the bottom line hits right there. Now you'll have people that want to hear it, and then you have a lovely conversation. And with us, the lovely conversation doesn't stay there because we end up taking their number and conversating and having dinner and having lunch with these people, and showing them the way the Bible teaches us is to love thy neighbor and to be disciples and to walk with them in their life. And then eventually, as they see your life, eventually that gradual change ends up happening in their lives as well. And that's in my opinion, in this Christianity forum, is that we have a lot of talkers and not a lot of doers. Because if there was a lot of doers, then you have a lot of people that actually believe in the faith.
Now, I appreciate that. Let me ask you guys this question, okay? one of the reasons why I really wanted to have this show, and Patrick, I mentioned this to you last week. Can we, as people of different faiths, is there anything that's going to be able to get us to come and be able to, and Matthew, this goes right along with what you were just saying, and E, you just brought it up too, about can we bring different religions together to where you're not going to see eye to eye on the same God or on the same religion, the same whatever it is, but can we all agree that we're in this for the better of our people? What do we need to do to make that happen? Instead of creating wars, we can create togetherness with the understanding, you know what? You're different than I am. Patrick, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah. The one thing that Jesus didn't do was come and be like, he just said what was true. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come into the Father but by me. That is absolute truth. No man can come into God unless they go through Jesus Christ, right? Now, did he sit there and be like, hey, your religion is wrong, your religion is wrong, your religion is wrong? No, he did not do that. That's not what that's not what we do. We just say, hey, God says that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man can come to the Father but by him. And then live that out in a way where, as his disciples, that people can actually see that truth. A lot of people are just waiting they want to see something real, right? And then we're talking about coming together with different religions and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I have many different friends that are different religions, right? I don't try to convince them that my religion is better or whatever or not. I just say, hey, this is what I believe, and they ask questions. I share with them what I believe, but that's not I'm just what we call ourselves are just seed sowers. We just say, hey, this is the truth. So, like for instance, Zach, say for instance for your headaches, there's a research that I found out about that actually can take your headaches away, right? Or whatever's going on with you away. And I can reveal that information to you, right? But what you do with the information is 100% complete up to you. Now, if you don't accept that, does that make us not friends? Am I going to be angry or upset with you or be like, you're a fool for not doing? No, I'm absolutely not. You're still my brother. I'm still going to sit with you and turn the lights down when your head's hurting, all that kind of stuff. I'm still going to do all those things if you accept it or not, right? But your headaches can go away if you just go through this research and you do exactly what this research is telling you, and you do that. So that salvation from that headache is up to you completely, 100%. We don't need to fight about that. And so as far as religions coming together, yes, there are certain things where I believe different than certain other religions and stuff like that. For me and who my God is and who I serve, I will always stand upon that truth and always speak that truth to whoever is around me, no matter what your religion is. Whether you accept it or not, that's up to you. If you say that we can't be friends because of that, well, that's your decision. That's if you say that we can't come together, but I'm not gonna go to war with you, man, or fight with you or argue with you on that. There's no reason. There's no reason you should even do that with me. If you believe something different, and I don't believe that, you don't need to fight with me and argue with me about what you believe. You don't need to do that.
Yeah,
it's unnecessary. And so, like, I have friends that are Muslims. I have friends that are Catholics. I have friends that are what you would call what's the word? The people that come to your door all the time, Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witness, man. Like, and we might have discussions about different things, man. Even among us as brothers, we believe different things doctrinally, right? We do believe different things doctrinally, and we have had like heated discussions, where it's just like we like I don't know about that, but then like at the end of the day, he's still my brother. At the end of the day, Zach, no matter what you do, all right, this is not just me. This is also because of Christ through me, right? No matter what it is that you do, Zach, you're always going like you'll still be my friend. I'll be your friend. You know what I mean? There's if something was to happen, there's always forgiveness because I've been forgiven much. I've been forgiven. I've been a terrible man in my life, and God has. That's what I'm saying. Like this whole thing about looking down on other religions, we just can't do that because of what God has done in us. We people don't know the people that we've been, the mistakes that we've made, the things that we've done, but God has actually redeemed us and changed things in us. And like I said, at times, so I can't look at other religions that way. So you know, now I will be very honest about this portion of it, though. Does that mean that um, I have to be accepting of those things, of other people's things? I don't, I don't, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that at all.
Matthew?
But we can sit and we can be friends. We can eat. We can do all kind of different things together, and still be in disagreement. Jesus did that. Jesus sat with all kind of people, and he sat with the prostitute. He sat with the tax collector. He sat with the person, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, all those different type of people. Were they mad at him for things that they said, and did he just keep it pushing? Absolutely. It talks about where it says when you have discussions with people and you get all upset, you just knock the dust off your feet and you keep on going. That isn't, but that's what Jesus did. The one that we follow, he did all those same things. Now, um, did he elect that? Did he let that change his faith or affect what his message was? Absolutely not.
Right. Matthew?
So I think of divisiveness, right? We live in a time right now where it's not just about believers and non-believers. It's about left and right. It's about those who have and those who don't. There's something that knows that we're weaker when we're all divided. And I look at churches in the same way. We have different theological backgrounds, different theological beliefs, um, and I count them as brothers if we believe on the core issues that Jesus is the Christ, that he was prophesied of, that he fulfilled those prophecies, that he called himself worthy of praise, that he represented himself as God here on earth. So either he was a liar, he was a lunatic, or he is Lord. And those are things that we have to wrestle with. As far as churches combining, some of the coolest things I've ever seen is when churches get together. So I partook in a thing called Awaken Nashville, and this was put on by a church that I used to go to in downtown Nashville called Ethos Church. And they said, you know what? We're going to pray and we're going to fast for a month. We're going to pray for every single person in Nashville. And they said, you know what? We can't do this by ourselves. There's nearly 1 million people in Nashville. So then it was 12 churches. Then the next year it was 30 churches. Then it was statewide. You're talking 100 churches just coming together. And if we can start being better neighbors, better people, what will change in our neighborhood? If the question was, if Jesus lived in your neighborhood, what would change about your neighborhood? Those are hard questions, even for followers. We go to different places. Sometimes we have theological arguments, and hopefully we still leave in love. As long as we believe in the truth of Jesus Christ, we can disagree on what did he mean by that. Was he saying this or was he saying that? But ultimately, John 13:34 says, "A new commandment I give, that you love one another, even as I loved you. And by this, all men will know that you are my followers, by how you love one another." So, I've been working here a lot in the last year on you know, how to have a better argument, how to understand, even like what you talked about, Zach, with, you know, Noah, the flood story. Were there other flood stories? I mean, yeah, but historically, if there's a whole bunch of different countries and different places and different groups of people talking about this flood story, then if I read it, even though it was written later, man, I can trust that it probably happened historically, you know, and how to combine those. But then I started learning it's not about how well I argue. It's about how well I love. They won't know me based upon my theology. They won't know me based upon my arguments. They won't know me based upon the church I go to. They will know me by the love I have for one another. And when the people of God live that way inside of the church, then that is different. And the world wants what is different. They want to be loved. And when it's a different kind of love, it's not a condemnation love, but it's I was there. I know what you went through. But God changed me to here. Look at where I am now. But he doesn't offer that to every, you know, it's not everybody has the same path. But I think there are some things that need to get out of the church. And a lot of this self-serving, profiteering from certain big-time, big-name preachers who are leading people based upon what they want to hear, yeah, they may have a lot of people because they say a lot of things that are very accepting, but they're just doing it for themselves. They're doing it for their own glory, their own money, their own wealth, and the world sees that, and they know the difference. That's not Jesus. I want nothing to do with that. So, yes, we have to change as a church, but not change in our truth and not change in our doctrine. Maybe change in the way we approach, maybe change in our love, but yeah, combining forces. I mean,
what you said about that 30 churches getting together, brother, I'm going to tell you right now, that would be one of the most beautiful things I think I personally would ever see. Seeing people standing together and not seeing eye to eye, you know, I mean, but knowing that there's a reason why you're there, and it's to help other people. I think that, I mean, it gave me chills. It truthfully gave me chills when you said that. So, you know, what's your thoughts on this? And I'll tell you, Patrick, I've said it for a long time. This show needs to be longer than an hour, but
so give me the preface of that of because I lost a little signal in the beginning of this this discussion here.
The question is that, are we ever going to get to a point in your mind where Christians can talk to Muslims, can talk to whoever else, and you can get together, and there doesn't have to be wars. There can be mutual respect and even love, as Matthew was just saying? Or is it always going to be so contentious? In which Matthew just said, no, it doesn't have to be. But what do we have to do to make this happen to where, you know what, just because, you know, you believe in a half-naked fat guy, that doesn't make you a bad person?
Oh, well, I mean, in all honesty, it has to do with the individual of just showing love, man. I mean,
Yep.
we as believers in Christ, man, sometimes need to get off our own high horse, because the person that's across from us is probably going through some things that we probably went through, you know, and they have a story to tell. And a lot of times we don't listen to that story because we feel that we're much bigger than them, or we got it all together. None of us have it together. You know, the best thing for that, for something like that to happen, is stop thinking that your church is better than that church, and that church is the Protestant is better than the Baptist is better than the Lutheran is better than the Pentecostals. I mean, that to me is all division, man. We're all one church, we're all one body, and we all bleed red.
Yep.
And if we can get that in our heads and show love and come together and break down those barriers, I think that having Jehovah Witnesses and Muslims and all kinds of other religions that that I've been fighting for so many centuries to come with the Christians and join together, right? Maybe something that nobody's used to, a worship concert. Who knows what God can do in a worship concert with all kinds of other people that are there that don't have the same belief system that you have. Working together to feed the poor, feed the homeless in the streets. God can do so much just by that action of coming together. You'd be amazed to see what happens. And if we can just lower our standards. I mean, I'm not saying lower your belief as a Christian and just throw away what God has said and what is said in the Word. No, you have to be smart, you have to be loving, and you have to be discerning. And when you can bring those three together and bring these people together and just love on people, like discipleship, because that's what discipleship is loving on people that you don't know and helping them through their lives. When you do stuff like that, man, it changes their lives to a degree that that sometimes you sit back and you're like, wow, I was there, and now look where they're at. And the next thing you know, they're going through things in life that before they would think that I want to commit suicide. They're saying, I'm here to live another day. I can't wait to what tomorrow brings. They wake up with expectancy. And there's not many people sometimes that are living that way these days. And it's because a lot of Christian, and not only Christians, and other religions as well, walk away from people. Well, I'm not a people person. Well, I'm sorry to say, Christ, Jesus, when he walked this earth, he was a people person, and he sat with everybody. He fed everybody. And that's how we have to be, and sometimes, it gets uncomfortable for us as well. But that's where God is, in the uncomfortability. And if we can be uncomfortable with one another and share each other's stories, then there's a commonality there, and you can find love in between that. And next thing you know, who knows? Maybe they come to Christ. Maybe they don't. You sow a seed, the plant grows. You water it, you walk with this person, and next thing you know, they start seeing, without you even doing anything, they start seeing it for themselves.
Well, I the whole fact that you brought up tell each other's stories, that makes me happy, because that's just something that's the whole reason why this show is here. We're trying to be able to tell their stories and make sure people hear that there are differences. There's always going to be differences, guys. There's always going to be differences. And you guys have given me a little bit of help here, understanding that, it's not all, look, you guys are very, very set in your beliefs, which is fantastic. But that doesn't mean that there's no room for anyone else. And that's what is so important about this. And the other thing is that you three men work together. You've got a couple other people who have popped on throughout the day to watch. You all work together and you all feel good together. I know a couple of you have talked about your issues prior to finding God. And almost, Patrick, you say it all the time. You took your own life. God gave you life back. This is what we need to make sure that we're spreading across. Matthew, like you said, we got to get rid of the people. I almost said a bad word, but we need to get rid of the people who are in this for themselves. This isn't something that, Patrick, you said it. I'm in this for him. That you don't you don't hurt him. And I greatly appreciate this show. I appreciate your coming on and talking about this, because I know that this can be kind of one of those things that you hear, oh, we're going to talk about religion today. Can't we drop like weights on our feet? That could be more fun. But let's we are out of time, but I want to do this. E, if you could tell everybody out there something, what would it be?
Just let go. Let go. Stop holding on to what you're holding on to and share with somebody. It's so much easier to hold everything in and be seclusive and all that. Get somebody that you really, really can trust and open up to somebody and share your story with them, because you never know that your story may be their story as well.
Mhm.
And you can walk together on that journey and help each other. We become a nation of reclusive spiders that just wants to be by ourselves. Don't talk to me. No, stop. Open up. It takes one little verbiage to open up. I need help. What do you need help with?
Yep. I love that. Yeah, if you're introvert, don't come anywhere near me, because I'm going to talk to you anyway. So, Matthew?
I was going to say kind of the same thing. I know you do a lot of podcasts on PTSD and mental illness and struggles and suicide, and I would just say that, man, depression is straight from the devil, but it comes and it lays and it holds you. Part of my testimony is my wife dealt with depression for about 5 years, but it was only in community. It was only when this new door was open. But when we talked about what would our neighborhoods be like if Jesus was in them, well, he'd probably know his neighbors, know their lives, and that is really, the divisiveness that I talked about. That's where darkness wants to keep us, is divided. And it is only until we come together. It is only until we begin to exhibit and show love. What I preach is that God's kingdom is completely upside down. Blessed are the poor, not the rich. Blessed are the peacemakers, not the boastful. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. And this is this kingdom that Jesus preached. And it was like, that doesn't look like anything of what we deal. We elevate the people who are completely different than that. And I just, I want to live for that kingdom, because that is more appealing to me than anything I see around me.
Patrick?
Oh man, I'm just gonna. What I like to leave is this: like, if you are struggling in your life with anything, if you're struggling with this thing about who God is, who faith is, what faith is, all that kind of stuff, what it talks in this Bible is like, if you seek Him, you will find Him. So if you ask God, you seek for Him, then He'll reveal Himself to you. He will. It's a promise in His Word that He can't go back on. He can't lie on these things. And so, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. This verse is said over and over and over again. You see it on all these different types of things, but it is the most simplest, realest verse, realest truth that exists in this world and in this universe, is that God loved you. So what that means, and just to be just a little bit of understanding of what it is that Jesus did when He died on the cross for us, right? It said He became sin for all of us. So this is how much He loved us, right? In the Garden of Gethsemane before He died, he had to wrestle with this, because he was a man without sin, that never had sinned, never done anything in his life. And then, like, the night before, he's like sweating blood. He's sweating blood and all this kind of stuff, because the truth of the matter is, when you become the sin of everyone, that means on that cross, He became the pedophile. He became the person that's been in depression. He became the person that was a murderer. He became the person that had full of anxiety. He became the person that, whatever it is that is the most heinous thing you could think about, He became all those things. He experienced them for us. So there's not anything in this world that you can do or have ever been where Jesus has not experienced it for Himself and understands you and still dies for you, no matter how heinous it is. This is the truth of the gospel. But whether you accept it or not, it's always going to be up to you. Jesus loves you so much that He would take the most heinous crime for you, not only take it, but lived it and bore it upon Himself, to the point where it says, where I talked about this last time, to the point where it says that God was delighted to crush His Son because of all the sin that was, because God, that was like the most grievous thing against Him. But then not only did He not only did Jesus die, but he went and took the keys of death itself, of eternal death that we deserve. Because to be honest about it, we as people, because of all the things that we sin and do against God, we deserve exactly the judgment that he would give us. We do. We just don't want to admit it, but we do. And so that sacrifice that he does creates this bridge that covers everything, that like takes everything from us, past, present, and future. So like, and then what's so crazy about it? This is what's so crazy about it, Zach, is that at the end of all this, right, when I accept Christ, he goes, no longer are you a sinner. All right. No longer are you an enemy of me. He calls me his righteousness, the righteousness of God in Christ. So that means like now he sees me as the same level as his son. Sinless, blameless, covered. That is an insane level of forgiveness and love that what I'm not getting to speak about other religions. Where do you find a love like that? Where? In any existence, anything that you could ever, where's a love like that? There isn't any. And that's what's being offered. But it's always up to us to decide, is that the love that I'm going to receive? And as simple as this, God, I have been my own person. I have sinned against you. I haven't listened to you. I haven't been in haven't been. There's nothing I can even do to actually even be anything close to what it is. But thank you for sending your son to die for me on that cross, taking everything that I've ever been, all the things that's in me, and loving me that much. I accept him as your savior, and I accept you. And what it says about this also is that once that happens, there is nothing that you can do you can be taken out of his hand. Nothing that you can do that can take it out of his hands. So Zach, what it's saying is that even when you become his child, just like your son is your son, and he could never not be your son. He could go and murder a baby right now. Is he still your son? That is the truth of the gospel. Now, does that mean you go and murder people? No, that love, that kind of love, when someone loves you that much, it starts to change you. It's inevitable. When you accept that kind of love and you start living towards that kind of love, nothing else can happen but a change. And it'll become evident, and the people around you will know different. That is what it is. And so the last thing I want to leave with you guys is that the truth of the gospel of what it is that you can do to actually be in right relationship with God is not as anything that you can do. There's nothing there's nothing that you can do to come into relationship with God. It's everything that he does to bring you into relationship with him because he loves you so much. And so that's what I want to leave you with. You have the opportunity, you know how to do it. Just come back and push rewind, and you know the way. And so but you're responsible for it because you've been told. So you can't say that you didn't know when that day comes. And because just like I said, there was an instance where my life was gone, and all the Christianity and all the other kind of stuff and religion that I knew meant absolutely nothing because I was going to go to hell because I did not understand this. When eternity came on my doorstep, and God just gave me he literally gave me a second chance that I don't deserve, but I'm using it for his glory. Every single second of it, I'm using it for his glory. And so I love you guys, and that's what I want to leave with you.
Well, I want to thank you all very, very much. I appreciate this. Once again, this isn't the easiest thing in the world to talk about, and I do appreciate that. Look, the thing is that I think we brought it together. The same thing that we hear almost every day that we do this show. Talk to somebody. Talk. If you're confused, talk. Okay. This right here is one example is, yeah, there's a lot of diversity out there. There's a lot of divisiveness out there that you see when it comes to not just one, but every religion. There's some wackadoos out there. We all know that. But this right here is proof that there are groups of people that get together and it helps. It helps them. Maybe this is your path. Maybe this is a path that you can choose. So remember, no matter what you've done, there are people out there who will accept you. Unless, of course, you're a Rangers fan, and then I'm sorry, you're beyond. I mean, if you're a New York Rangers fan, you're just.
Hey, I used to be because I lived in the area. So
Yes, but you did say the key word. You
used
to
to.
be.
That's right. That's right.
All right, everybody. Hey, please love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. Remember, if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone. When we all come together, join us again here next week as we take on this difficult scourge that's people are dealing with when we talk about mental illness and how we can help other people. That's what we're here for. Man, we need to take care of each other because you know what? We're all we got. For Matthew, uh, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. This was the first time that we ever met. For E, it was great to see you again. Patrick, thank you again this week, brother. We'll see you next week. For me, I'm Zach Clayton. We will see you again next week. Join us as we continue this talk. Bye.